Selamat datang dan selamat pagi dari Bali, Indonesia. Welcome and good morning from Bali, Indonesia. It is really, really early in the morning here. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and make a video about sun protection, which is very, very important for people who are visiting or staying in Bali. I do know that, especially for those people who come from areas of the world where winter includes snow, or there is such a thing as winter with cold weather, that some of those people from those areas of the world tend to consider that to be bad weather, and they then therefore put hot weather on the side of good weather. And while I certainly don't want to discourage anybody from having values as far as what they consider to be good or bad weather, I do want to talk a little bit about how even hot weather can be bad for you, and that you should definitely protect yourself when you're in the middle of hot weather, just as much as you would protect yourself if you were in the middle of cold weather. So as you can see before you, I have 4 items on my bedroom floor looking out over my balcony. On the far left is actually a sun hat, and that's my sun hat. You do need to wear a sun hat when you are out and about in Bali. I see any number of people not wearing sun hats or sun protection, but you need it. Basically, the sun really is out right now, and it's quite warm right now, but it gets to its full strength around about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then really doesn't stop beating down on you until a good 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when it starts sort of diffusing a bit, and by 6, 7, 8, depending on what time of year, it's gone. But during those peak hours, you definitely need to protect your head. I love my sun hat just basically because it has that huge brim. The brim is able to not only protect my face or shade my face, but also my neck and my chest and most of my shoulders. I have kind of broad shoulders, so it tends to have only an effect to a certain place on my shoulders, but for other people it would probably cover their entire shoulders. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a hat that covers all of that if that's not really your thing, but you should definitely at least have something on your head that covers your face. When it comes to heat stroke, sunstroke, and also overexposure to the sun, it's not healthy for you. And especially, as I said, if you're coming from a place where things are a bit cooler most of the time, or at least during the winter, you can sometimes feel like you're really doing yourself a favor by soaking in all of that heat and soaking in all of those sun rays. But really what you're doing is you are dehydrating yourself. You are putting yourself at risk for any number of kinds of skin cancers. You are encouraging your skin to age prematurely. The sun is not something that you should be anything other than very respectful of, and you should limit your exposure to it as much as possible. Even if it feels really good, it's still, there is still such a thing as too much of a good thing being a bad thing. In the middle, right next to my sun hat, you'll see my sunglasses. I love those sunglasses. Those you do need as well. You do need to protect your eyes when you're out and about, and I actually do see a lot more people wearing sunglasses than hats. So at least the sunglasses thing has gotten across to people, because, as we all know, you must protect your eyes. As a local Balinese woman told me just 2 days ago, Balinese people who work out in the rice fields do not necessarily wear eye protection, and as they get older, there's a real fear that they're going to get cataracts. So they use a particular type of herb to wash their eyes in order to kind of counteract that. But in lieu of using that particular anti-cataract eye wash, put on a damn pair of sunglasses. Just protect your eyes, and put on a hat. on top of your head. Behind my sunglasses, you'll see sort of a tube, a container that looks kind of like a deodorant container. That's actually not deodorant. What that is sunscreen in solid form. I tried to follow the TSA rules and not bring a whole lot of liquids, so I got sunscreen in solid form so that they really didn't care, but actually no one really cared either way. But that's a whole different story. At any rate, that sunscreen is, I'm not showing the front because I'm not necessarily doing product placement here, but there's a 70 on the front, and that basically means that I have about 80 minutes of sun protection before I need to reapply. 70 is pretty high. I actually really like the higher SPF factors, but again, as long as you're putting on something 15 or above, that will help you, and again, protect your skin from things like premature aging and potential skin cancers. So since my sun hat doesn't completely cover my shoulders and it doesn't cover my arms as well, I also use the item that's on the far right, the red item on the far right, which is my pashmina. I've had that for many, many, many years. I love it. I use it to keep myself warm if it's a little bit cool inside of a building or outside, and I also use it for sun protection. I will admit it is a bit warm for sun protection, but it definitely is not as warm as if I was walking around without it around my shoulders, because the sun makes you quite warm. And for me, it's a nice additional bit of protection. I have managed to actually tan through all of these things. I'm already a pretty tan person anyways, but my skin has tanned even through my sun hat, my sunglasses, sunscreen, and my pashmina. But I do have a possibility of burning. So the fact that I'm tanning as opposed to burning, I very much place on the shoulders of the fact that I've been using all this sun protection. So if you are the kind of person who burns, and perhaps burns more easily than I do, you want to do all of this. You don't want to go through the pain of sunburn. You definitely don't want to go through any of the damage of sunburn. And you want to make sure that you are protected, even if you are here specifically to get in the sun and to be as warm as possible, because you come from a cold, cold place. P.S. I come from a cold, cold place too. But even if that is your goal, you need to have a bit of perspective on the sun and a little bit of respect for how strong it is and how it can affect you in negative ways if you aren't careful. Like I said earlier, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So thank you very much for listening. Terima kasih, as they say here in Bahasa Indonesia. And thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.